Yeah! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Comedy Show on FM. We have a very special guest on our show today, and you're gonna love this comedian that we've got on today. She has two dry bar comedy specials, performs on cruise ships around the world, has appeared on all the major networks, and has over 10 million views online. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the very funny and talented Frances Dilorinzo. What's up, Frances?
Woo! I'm good. I'm good. I want to hear those applause through. Yeah, come on, applause.
I can hear him. I love it. Hey,
Can you?
Frances,
Okay, I can.
thanks so much for being on the show. And as I introduced you, I was talking about the cruise ships and everything. You know, before COVID or during COVID, all of that cut out.
No
And now
kidding.
you're out there on Holland America and all these different cruise lines and so forth. When did they actually start back going full steam ahead?
Well, I think they teased us because they put us back on a couple of contracts, and then the Delta variant hit, and then they're like, "Kidding, kidding, kidding! You can't have your career back." And they yanked us back off the ships. I was actually on a ship on a 2-week contract, and they canceled me and sent me home halfway because,
Wow.
yeah, so it was a little wacky. But it feels so far away now, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It seems like it's a distant past. Thank God, because
Yep.
that was a tough experience having to, as comedians, you know as well as I do. I mean, you're constantly doing, you know, it's like a drug,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it's over, and you're just like, what am I going to do? And
Yeah.
you know, so and then I came up. This platform it was birthed by COVID-19. This platform, you know,
You
I actually started doing it in clubs, and then it just became too cumbersome, so I stopped. And so once COVID hit, I had nothing but time to pour into it. So I guess it's a blessing, and you know, as a result of what seemed to be a curse. But anyway, I mean, it turned out okay. It's way in our rear view now, thank God. And as I mentioned, you're doing the cruise ships and everything. What is the difference between doing the cruise ship stuff versus being in clubs?
Oh gosh, what a great question. I think the two are getting closer and closer together than it used to be.
Yeah,
Because back in the day when cruise ships first started putting stand-up comics on, it was clean, but almost like Mickey Mouse clean,
yeah,
right? And it was kind of almost well, your hands were tied. Your hands were
yeah,
tied because you had to be cleaner than TV clean, which was kind of insane. And because it killed the creativity, it killed the freedom, it killed the, spontaneity. Now that bridge has gapped quite a bit, or it's bridged the gap, I think is what I'm trying to say. And it's gotten to the point where some cruise lines are like, hey, we're doing an adult blue show, go as dirty and as filthy as you want. They're
yeah,
almost encouraging it. I personally, that's not my thing.
yeah.
I do like to have adult material and adult freedom, but still maintain, a sense of class because
Yes,
I'm
yes.
such a classy gal, um, which is so funny because I never used the word gal, but I just did because it just felt like, you know, um, that would fit. The other thing, Maurice, that's really fascinating is on the cruise ships, your demographic can be 8 years old to 80. That's
Yeah,
another one where you are
yeah.
like making, you know, decades and decades, laughing with the same joke. And that definitely is challenging. You're not going to see 8-year-olds in a club.
Yeah.
You could see 80s, but that's not your main, audience member there. So
No, it's not, and I think that it's important. I'm a clean comedian by trade, and the ability to go into any environment by virtue of being clean is a huge advantage. Like,
Yeah.
okay, there's a couple of kids here tonight. Not a big deal. They'll get it, and you just keep going. This is there's some older people here. Well, no problem. Now, when you get to other demographics, it isn't necessarily whether or not you can relate to the demographic. Can you relate to them just as a human being? Like, people don't care if you're cursing or not as long as you're funny. And
True.
so I've been in many environments like that where I may have been the only clean comedian up there. But long story short, the getting back to the cruise ships, I've often wanted to try that because I've got a lot of friends that do cruise ships. It's just that I guess you just away from home for long periods of time.
Yeah. Well, that I think you're in charge of yourself. I have pretty strict parameters.
Okay.
Nobody can force you to take a month-long contract. At the same time, if they offer you the work and you don't take it, then you don't have the work. So, for me, I've been very fortunate that I've had agents and cruise lines that will work with my guidelines. I personally won't go anything longer than 2 weeks. And
Okay.
I don't even prefer that. I prefer 1 week to 10 days. And, in the beginning that started out as a rule because I had small kids. Now my sons are 21 and 22. And I'm like, oh, I can't use that so much anymore.
Right.
I got to drive them to carpool. I got to make their lunch. I have to be back home. So,
Yeah.
that makes me look a little, it makes me a little look, they're going to miss me. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So,
Now, recently, I don't know how long ago you did a dry bar comedy special,
yeah.
and which is where I discovered you, and it's a very funny special. A lot of comics, they once they and I'd love to hear your response to this, but a lot of comedians feel like once you get let's say a special like a dry bar, does it kind of like take your career to another level as far as attention, bookings, and that kind of thing?
Yes, Maurice, I am so big right now that I shouldn't even be doing your show, but because,
Right.
uh, oh my gosh, I am on fire. Anyways, no, there's definitely a plus. Being a dry bar is a beautiful monster, and I'm glad to be part of it. So I was very lucky. I was brought into dry bar in their second season when they were considered small but big. They were had 2 million followers, and I'm like, wow, 2 million followers. Now they're like to 8 or 9 or 10. I don't know how many. They're tremendous,
They're
and
tremendous. They're tremendous now. Yeah.
yes, they are, and it's great. So I was very honored and lucky to bring back or to be brought back and do a second special. So yes, I did get contacted by different corporate events, and people finding me like you did, and hiring me for their company parties and stuff like that. I call them company parties. They're either conventions or whatever. I've done a number of them in Vegas and across the country, and different clubs and stuff as well. So am I filthy rich? I have more room for money, if that's what you're asking me. So
Got a little extra space for money.
I
Yes.
did. I like school. I just squeezed it in tight so that I could, make more room for
Yes.
more in case more wants to come my way.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, that's always a good thing. I know that I've had some friends that have done the dry bar, and the views, it went up to a whole other level. So I've heard different takes on that. But I didn't know if that was your case or not, if you had experienced it.
Well, I
Let's
did. I
see.
was very. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I will take this opportunity to brag just one more time.
Yes.
I did have a number of clips. Like I got one with 5.5 million, another one with 2.5. And I don't. those are fun. And then I did all those followers spilled over into my social media. They come and find you. While I'm proud of those numbers and they're great, it's been fantastic. Other people, then I'm like, yay, I'm so cool. And then you're like, oh yeah, but I got 19 million. And then all of a sudden I feel like, oh, I'm a loser. I only got 2 million, so.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff, Frances. It's really good.
I'm happy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've gotten to the point where now I don't look at it that often, but every time they post me, I'm super excited about it because I'll start getting like, a bunch of new people. And I'm like, what's going on? Something's going on. And then I find out that they posted me. And so all of a sudden people find me. And I always want new friends. So anybody out there, funnyfrancis.com, have all of my Instagram. Did you just show that? It looks like you were going to show that.
No. Since we're talking about Dry Bar, I would like to show a little bit of your stuff that from your special, which was, as I said, really funny. It's called The Problem Solver. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a look at Frances Dilorinzo in action. A very funny skit. There's a lot of different things that you did on this show, but we've only got about 50 minutes left, so we're not going to show the whole thing. And Dry Bar will probably destroy me if I show the whole thing. So here's a snippet of Frances Dilorinzo, the problem solver, her Dry Bar comedy. That's a typical guy for you right there, Frances.
Well, Maurice, not only that, I didn't know you were going to show that clip. And there's been an update in my life. So that guy that I was referring to as my husband is now no longer my husband.
Oh,
newsflash. Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay. I updated my status in life. Yeah, there's been some changes, and now I identify as unmarried. So,
well, that's what happens, Frances, when you don't pay attention.
But that's what happens when Blackhawks are more important than your beautiful, babe here.
But still very funny, Frances. Very funny.
So listen, I'm very grateful to him because I got tons of material from him. So
yes, I'm sure you did, because
still do. You probably should never divorce a comedian.
Well, the last thing that he should have done was to divorce a comedian, because everybody's going to hear it now about this guy.
Yeah.
So that was not smart on his part. Frances, you've probably got so much material it doesn't make any sense. So, but a lot of ladies can relate to that, because guys don't pay attention a lot of times. It's always football or sports or something, whatever, fishing, hunting, sitting in a deer stand, those type of things. Yeah. So very good joke. And, like I said, that was a very funny Dry Bar comedy special. So folks, if you ever get a chance, go to YouTube and type in Dry Bar comedy, Frances Dilorinzo. It's called The Problem Solver. Very funny special. And right now, as I was talking about that, we were talking about cruise ships earlier. So are you currently or about to do a cruise ship coming up soon?
Yes, I leave next Friday again. So I've been home for 3 weeks, and I'm heading back to Miami, and I'll be on the MSC Seascape. So right now I'm doing a bunch of Caribbeans, cruise ships, like through the Caribbean, and then summer is usually Alaska.
Now, I was talking about COVID. I want to revisit that real quick because we went into that situation. A lot of us, I actually had turned a corner before COVID. Like I'm like, I think I got this thing nailed. I mean, I was on a roll.
Yeah.
I just come out of a bunch of shows in Miami, and then all of a sudden nothing. And, it's like, Lord, why did you do this? Why is this happening to me? So I came out with podcasts. Some people came out with better punchlines. I actually got better punchlines, and new jokes. Some people wrote a book. I actually wrote and directed a short film. Actually, I did it last summer, and I got nominated for it in the short film category.
Yeah.
And so I've just been doing all kinds of other things. What did you, or if you did anything new coming out of COVID. What was that? What did you get out of COVID that took your comedy to another level?
Well, I also had set the goal to write a book, and I didn't do that, but I did write a really, really moving review on Yelp. So
Okay, well that's pretty good. That's at least writing, Francis.
it is. Let's Maurice, I know I laughed at my own joke just in case you weren't going to, because I was like, here comes
Okay.
the punchline. Yeah.
Now, Francis, since you, well, it's writing, so is that you picked up on that writing Yelp. That's a great tool that you picked up out of COVID. But as I talk about COVID, you think about how comedy, in my mind, comedy has kind of changed a little bit. Like people have gotten sensitive all of a sudden. I think more sensitive coming out of COVID than before we went into it. And it seems like you have to be, it doesn't matter if you're clean. It's very easy to offend people. It seems to me nowadays in stand up. I have a comedy friend by the name of Donnie Stopa who did a documentary called Comedy versus the Cancel Culture.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to play a little snippet of that. I'm going to play the trailer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play that. And then I want to come back and just get your views on comedy versus the cancel culture. This is Donnie Stopa's documentary. Let's check it out.
Cancel culture. We're talking about censorship in comedy. Do you think that cancel culture exists in comedy?
Basically, in a nutshell.
Definitely feel like, as bizarre as it sounds, like there's a war on jokes right now.
Cancel culture, it's such a misdirected umbrella term. You can't police what is subjective.
Oh, wow! Like, you kind of have to live your life bulletproof now. You just have to.
Greatest night in the history of television.
You can't say an inappropriate joke that doesn't have the right context.
There's always going to be some sliver of cancel culture, of woke, of political correctness.
You're not funny, and this is how you have to do the joke, because I know how funny jokes work. That's not the joke.
I don't believe people get canceled. I believe that they have a shift in their audience.
Put your hands together for Mr. Joe Rogan!
When people say somebody is canceled, I think it just means, oh, we found they did or said something that most people don't like.
I date a lot of bimbos. That's the problem.
So what?
So, let's think about that joke in today's culture.
Let's think about that joke in today's culture, Francis. What is your view on comedy post COVID-19? Have people in your mind become too sensitive?
Yes and no. I mean, so I can answer that as a whole, and I would say yes. Fortunately, in my personal experience, I haven't had too many issues with it. Okay. Although, probably going back to what you and I were talking about earlier, is that, I consider myself a clean comic, although I do adult material. So it's like, I'm not writing for 15-year-olds or 10-year-olds or 8-year-olds. I am writing for adults. Yes. I choose by design, not to curse on stage. That's not who I am. Yeah. And not that I haven't cursed in life. I sure have, but I usually don't have a microphone in front of my mouth when I'm doing it. And
usually not. Yes.
And I was just writing a joke yesterday. I don't know if it's funny or not. I was talking to somebody and I said, we were looking up Howie Mandel, and he said he has Tourette's syndrome, where he has the cursing, the involuntary cursing. And I said, I have it too. The only difference is mine is actually voluntary Tourette's. When I'm pissed at someone.
And there it is. Very voluntary.
Yeah. So to answer your question, yes, I do see it. I think it's unfortunate, but I also think that society has gotten so extreme that people are just so darn rude to each other. So there's just, I posted a video just this last time I was on the cruise, and I made a joke about the Elon Musk. I'm probably going to get a lot of haters here. Just hear me out. This is a joke. It's not about the Elon Musk email requirements of your bullet points. So I posted a kind of a parody on that, and I bullet pointed what I did in the last week as a comedian on the ship.
Yeah.
And it was silly. And so many people reacted to that thinking that I was a government employee and that I should be fired. And they were just like, all this reaction on fire. You're fired. You're canceled. I'm like, you guys, you missed the point. I don't work for the government. I don't work for Elon Musk. I'm just kind of making a little, parody joke out of it. Just commentary, lighthearted fun. And I just think in that sense that people can't have the conversation without having to agree. And then the name calling is so disappointing to me.
Right.
Like, people calling me a bimbo and
oh, wow. It's crazy.
Yeah. Someone's like, there was another term, somebody. And all I can do, to be honest, is laugh at it because I'm like, you're calling me the bimbo, but you didn't even understand what this was about. You just
had no idea what you were talking about. Exactly.
They didn't. They just saw Elon and email, and they assumed they knew what they didn't pay attention. So really, who's the bimbo? I mean, if you're going to have an argument and debate, know what the topic is. So I probably went long-winded there. Fortunately on stage, I think a big thing is if an audience member kind of feels safe with you and likes who you are as a human being, they generally are willing to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
If they if for some reason they don't connect with you, then you're kind of walking on more dangerous territory, and knock on wood and thank God. I find that people feel comfortable with me because they know that my agenda is to laugh at oneself and laugh at life, because I really believe in this culture. If you can't laugh at life and you take everything so seriously, that's got to be a really, really ugly and painful and boring place to live.
Well, I totally agree. And I think it's interesting. It's like, why are you even at a comedy show if you've got this kind of anger?
Yeah.
It's like, I think you're probably in the wrong place because you want to fight, and we're all here to laugh and have a good time. But I think the method to the madness of a comedian is, I like what you said before about, if they like you're given the space to kind of say whatever your truth may be, as long as you don't go too deep with it. You come out, you give a couple of quick jabs, get them laughing, 2 or 3, really safe jokes that's funny. Now they like you. Now you're okay, and you can kind of say something that they may or may not agree with. But also, Francis, I believe and I was talking with comedian P.T. Bratton yesterday about this, and he made a very interesting point. There's a difference between making statements and writing to a punchline. Like, where's the punchline? Because at the end of the day, and I'm certainly not accusing you of this. This is just a general statement. Where people are like, comedians that offend on a regular basis, and they're not good, and they've got a lot to learn. Is that it's got funny? You got to write to the punchline when you're writing. And at the end of the day, if you can get there, nobody really cares if you're on one side of the fence or not. It was funny.
Yeah. I think you bring up a good point too, because so we're looking at from the audience perspective in their mind, as well as the comedian perspective in their mind. And I think what I find sad and somewhat of a tragedy in today's culture is, does either side get the liberty to just be disrespectful and rude to other people? That I'm not a fan of. Never. So just because you have the microphone doesn't mean that you should insult and say and degrade and diminish. You can joke, But with it always, for me, it always boils down to what's the intention. And sometimes the intention is a vibe or a feeling you get, not necessarily the words. So if someone's intending to just embarrass the heck out of somebody, but in an evil way, if your intent is evil, then nothing's funny anymore. If your intent is to kind of, okay, you know, I'm saying to you something that I would laugh at myself about. I was just doing a show the other day, and there was a good looking guy in the front row with his date. And it turns out they'd been dating 10 years, but they weren't married. So of course I was teasing about, you know, why aren't you married? When are you gonna, you know, you know, the big question. And you know, there's no rules. I don't personally care if they get married or not, but that's kind of the extreme of situations. So of course I kind of went there, and everybody was dying, but he started cringing a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, dude, you know, just don't, this is not therapy. It's not counseling. We're doing comedy right now. Just laugh it off. This is your choice. So embrace it and laugh with it. Cause I'm not saying you're a loser and you're, you know, and, you know, I was teasing, but in a way that wasn't insulting. It's, you know, come what's behind it. And I find that the strength of someone's character is the ability to laugh at oneself. So, hey, I've had things happen in my life that I didn't expect, and some of them were good and bad, and I was able to laugh at my personal life experience. Now, going back to the fact that I went through a divorce, I do bring a lot of that to the stage, because I know that part of healing is being able to laugh at your life circumstance again. Otherwise, you'll remain in the pain. And I also realize that some people can't do that for themselves. And I never really thought about it that way, but that's the gift that we've been given, is to aid or direct or lead someone down the road to laughter when they're not wired that way. And I feel very lucky to be able to do that.
So now, during that documentary I just showed, within that, there was a scene where Chris Rock was slapped by Will Smith. Yeah. What was your view of that moment? How did you perceive all that going down? What was your view of it? Yeah, absolutely horrible. And even watching it right now, I don't know if I was on the camera or not, but it's cringeworthy. Whether it doesn't matter if they were a stand-up comic or someone walking out of Walmart or at a dinner party, who gives you the right to slap somebody and then to do it so publicly, which is so degrading? Yeah. And it's just, it's insane behavior. It's idiotic behavior. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing that somebody who appears to have some sort of intelligence and was given the gift of such tremendous success, right, to take the liberty to degrade somebody like that on national television in one of the classiest events of our country. It's just absurd. Yeah, it was unfortunate, because I love Will Smith and I love Chris Rock. I love both of them, and it was just an unfortunate incident. And it seemed to open, in my opinion, it kind of opened the door for aberrant behavior from audiences when comedians are performing. You know, but thank God that door closed pretty quickly. There were a couple of things. I think Dave Chappelle experienced an attack from an audience member not too long afterwards, and a couple of other club incidents where people kind of like started, lashing out physically at the comedian. You know, tell this joke at your own peril. But thank God that that door kind of closed, and things have gotten kind of normal again. You were talking about recently getting divorced, Francis. And I want to ask you this about personal struggles as a comedian. And I guess this could definitely be one of those for you. But my question is, have you ever had a personal struggle, i.e., a divorce, that you had to resolve within yourself first before you could make a joke out of it, and then the joke actually helped someone that was going through the same thing?
I mean, beautiful question. And my answer is absolutely. And the divorce is an excellent example of that. I'm also a cancer survivor.
Yeah.
And I lost both of my parents. So I have been through some tremendous loss, and some of it happened all at once. I actually say I got divorced and lost my parents all in 1 year, and the wrong people died.
Okay. Okay, I got you, Francis. I got you. It's something about, I lost my mother about a month ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's a tough one.
And my mom's never been a big fan of my entertainment career, but my brother and myself and my cousin were all sitting with my mom.
Yeah.
And I just got nominated for this award.
Wow.
That I was telling you about for the short film. Okay. And I got all excited. I got the call, and I said, yes, I got nominated. My brother, my mother was really not responsive. She was there, just with her eyes closed, and we're there beside her. And he said, hey, Mama, Poochie is my nickname. He just got nominated, And I went over to the bed. I said, Mom, I did it. I got nominated. And she just kind of like turned over and grunted, right? And my cousin said, what did she say? I said, she said, shut up. And it's kind of funny because I know how my mom is. Of course, I was being extreme, but to even find something lighthearted in a really tough moment and time, it helped to heal me in the moment. You know what I mean?
I totally get you. And we might have had the same mom and never known it.
We may very well have, Francis. I'll tell you, it's very possible.
Well, it's funny because maybe I'm stepping ahead here, but one of the most exciting things that happened in my career was a connection with Warren Buffett. And I don't know if you saw that at all or not, but are you familiar with Warren Buffett?
I think so. Help me out a little bit.
I'll remind you. He was the richest man in the world for many years.
Right. Yeah,
Mr. Stock Market investor. When you see a picture of him, you'll know exactly who he is. Yes. Anyways, very, very influential man. And he had been following me on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, I got hired for an event. We became, and I never thought I'd meet him. I ended up meeting him. And not only did I meet him, we became fast friends.
Oh, wow.
So for 10 years, we've been very good friends. And I'm hanging in the billionaires bullseye. It's bizarre.
Really good.
And
that's really good.
But listen, I'm the poorest, most unsuccessful and unknown person in that bullseye, but I'm standing there. I don't care. I was invited, But the point is, I would go, kind of name drop with my mom, and Mom, oh my God, I met Warren Buffett. I'm going on this trip, and Warren Buffett's going to be there, and we're going to meet him. We're going to do this trip. And she's like, oh, that's very nice. Did you know that the cantaloupe, it's on sale this week in Ralph's?
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Mom. Yay.
That's a perfect description of Mama, Francis.
So we have the same mom. Yeah.
We have.
Yeah, the eggs are there on sale. It's a better price at the Vons than the she would always tell me the grocery store prices and ads, and I'm like, thanks, Mom. Yeah,
Francis, the price of eggs they're too much, but Francis. So I love it. We got the same type of Bob. I want to switch gears and ask you about building material, coming up with new jokes. Do you still do open mics to work on your material?
No, that I don't do open mics.
Okay.
Thankfully, I don't do open mics.
Yeah.
2 reasons. Because number one, I'm full of myself. And number two, I'm finding myself funny, Maurice. And the other thing is I'm lazy. I'm too lazy. Like I can't make myself leave the house for comedy unless I'm getting paid anymore. And
right,
that's
right.
it's not arrogant. It's kind of a factor. But of course, as comics, we're always writing new material. So I don't go to like open mics, but I do go to clubs, and I do whenever I have a booked event, either wherever I'm working. Tomorrow night I'm working at a local event, and even on the cruise ships I always try to sneak in 1 or 2 new jokes in that set. And then of course, if it doesn't go well, you're gonna kind of sandwich it in, and that's what keeps you fresh and alive and excited. So I don't necessarily go to open mics. The way I write material is usually by talking with friends and just thinking out loud, and like I kind of did that Tourette's joke because I was on the phone with somebody, and then I thought like, oh, that'll be interesting, and then once I test the topic in front of the audience and they react to the topic or the subject matter, even with one joke, then I start adding more to it. I'll add another joke, and then ultimately form a bit versus just a joke. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Before we were talking about COVID, and before COVID, I used to go to open mics all the time to practice. I was constantly practicing in front of different crowds. And then afterwards, when I started going out, I'm 60, Francis. Okay. I went out to so I go out to an open mic, and all of a sudden there are comedians everywhere, like 40, 50 comedians at an open mic. I'm like, where did all these comedians come from?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, I am too old, Francis, to sit here and watch a bunch of just filthy, unfunny comedians just so I could get 5 minutes to practice.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm done with that. I'm situated in the Austin area, and there are a lot of funny comedians in Austin. I didn't realize.
I've still never been there. I want to go.
Yeah, a lot of. That's a really good comedy town. Matter of fact, Joe Rogan's got a big time comedy club there in Austin. But that being said, I stopped doing the open mics, and I borrowed a method from one of the greatest comedians of all time. You could argue whether or not he is, but he's 1, 2, 3 right there, George Carlin. And George Carlin, the way that he would prepare, he would sit down, write an hour set, look at it, make an adjustment here and there, and he goes, yeah, that's pretty good. And then just go out and kill. And I just thought, wow, let me try that, because he never believed in open mics. George Carlin never did. I'm not against them, but again, if you can come up with the way to be funny, that's the goal.
Yeah.
And so that was George Carlin's method of preparing, and I've adopted that. I've just kind of like, I do my research here. I talk to people like you do. People say funny things. Remember to write that down. You watch other comedian styles and this and that. You get ideas, and then you just start putting your own set together. Everybody kind of has their own method to that, but I just think that there are so many, Francis, there are so many people out there right now that think they're funny. It's like ridiculous. Like you'll get a kid, 22-year-old, that'll put something on TikTok or YouTube and get 5 million views, 15 million views.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Now, well, it's been going on since COVID. The comedy club will hire that person as the headliner. And then so they're getting the headlining jobs, but they're not comedians, Francis.
I agree.
And then the booker finds out to his own regret they shouldn't have hired them because they're not comedians.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's changed a little bit.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? I haven't witnessed it myself, but I'm aware of it. being a TikTok superstar is very different than being a stand-up.
Oh yeah.
And,
Oh yeah.
but not that I'm defending it, but the club owners are basically looking at they want to sell tickets. So if these guys,
that's how they're looking at it.
it's a business. So hey, if I were running a business, I can't say I would do it much differently, but I'm also a connoisseur of the craft, and I honor the craft. I find it the most fascinating thing, and it's truly my purpose. I do realize, my first special was The Problem Solver.
Yeah.
I just now recently, I just kind of realized going through like a difficult season in my own personal life, realizing that my purpose is problems into punchlines. That's really what I do in life. I turn problems into punchlines. When I was battling cancer, the end of my marriage, the loss of my parents, COVID, that's really what I've done my whole life. And, I used to kind of just look at comedy as this arrogant thing, like, oh my God, I'm so cool. I do stand-up comedy. And now I realize that there's a deeper benefit to it. It's really true that laughter heals and is the best medicine. It's so true. It's so valuable. And so that's why good comedy is very important. I mean, I know I'm not being funny here. I'm being sentimental. I just think that it's such a gem, whether you're listening to it, whether you're writing it, whether you're delivering it, or just in the presence of it. It's so healing. So
it is.
That's why you were saying, like, with these TikTok things, those are fun, and to each their own, and congratulations. But that doesn't mean you can stand on stage and do an hour of material. A 30-second, a 3-minute viral video doesn't mean, and going back to the cruise ships, Maurice, when you were asking me about that, on the cruise ships, you often have to have a minimum of 90 minutes, 2 separate 45-minute shows, totally different material. So
wow. Whoa.
I didn't know if you knew that. So
I did not know that. No.
You do. So you go in there and you usually do what's called a family-friendly show. So that's your first 45 minutes, and you'll work in one evening if you're working in the theater, and it's 45 minutes of clean material, family friendly for all ages. And then they'll bring you back later in the cruise for a late night adult comedy, and that's 45 minutes of totally different material. So that's 90 minutes right there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a ton of material. I actually did a show again prior to COVID. I did a 45-minute show in Baltimore, and I never had gone past 20.
Okay.
And I just took it. I said, I'm going to take a shot at this.
Good for you.
Just to test myself. I actually did it. My wife had her sit in the front, and so she would just, from joke to joke, just cue cards so I wouldn't get lost. And you know what, Francis, I didn't even have to look at her. I forgot she was there with the cards. I had it, and it all speaks to confidence. And not only that, you don't want to do your jokes like that. You want to be, kind of liberated with, you talk about whatever you want to. I mean, you have your map, of course.
Yes.
But if I want to do some, crowd work, if I want to add some jokes like right there on the spot to a topic because people think this is really funny, you can get another 2 minutes just on the momentum of the jokes. You know what I mean? So there's I did not know that. I had a couple of friends that told me that you would do 45 minutes for the early show, and then the second show you could do that same routine with make it a little bit different, or like you said, maybe a little spicier. But they don't want the same material. Okay.
They want different material. And yes, it is spicier.
Yeah.
And it's, from a comics perspective, it's more fun because then you have the freedom. You don't have to say, oh, there's a kid right there. I mean, I've had some crazy stuff happen on ships, like 7-year-olds, or actually there were 6. They're doing cartwheels in the front row. It was unbelievable, Maurice. And then I look at the parents. I said, "Are these your kids?" And they're like, "No, they're not mine." And I'm like, "They're not yours." I'm like, "Where are the parents? Is this daycare?" They're like, "The parents are in the casino somewhere." Turns out they were the parents, but they thought it would be funny not to say they're not our kids.
You should have said, what did they do? Escape from the zoo? Whose children are these?
Exactly. So, and yes, you're right. It is fun to go into crowd work. And I personally love working off the cuff, but you also have to have tried and true, crafted material as well, so it's a fine thread of going in and out of both of them and stuff, so. But you do need a significant amount of material. So that's why these TikTok people and can't really.
No, they can't. They cannot hold their own. There have been some really bad, stories, horror stories of these TikTok comedians doing a headlining spot, and they can't do it. And they'll be up there for 45 minutes, but it's painful.
Yeah.
So to your point, I mean, you have to know what you're doing when you're up there. There's no question about it. You don't want to waste anybody's time. I used to tell my wife, because we're built differently. Comedians are just built differently. Like we're just like fearless. I don't know why we do what we do. I look out in the audience, Francis. I'm looking at all these people for the next 40 minutes or whatever. I'm going to make you my goal is to make you my best buddy. Now, half of these people I wouldn't talk to in front of a Walmart, but right now we got to be best buds. So to be able to pull that off is miraculous, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's like before I go on stage, I feel like I'm Evel Knievel and I'm going to jump over 20 cars. I mean, the adrenaline is unreal.
I commend you on an Evel Knievel reference.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, whoa, this is reckless. What's getting ready to happen? You don't know. But you love it for whatever reason. I can't explain it. But you love it.
Yeah.
The challenge, this is going to be great. This is going to be a lot of fun, and you just go out there and you pray that everything turns out well. But again, like I said, not everyone's built that way. I mean, comedians are a different breed in my opinion. You might be funny. You might be funny in the locker room. You might be funny at a dinner party. Oh, you're so funny. Getting on stage and making a room full of total strangers and make them your friend for however long you're going to be up there. I think that's a miracle. And to your point, it's healing. You're helping people out there. People go through all kind of things.
Oh, yeah.
And if they can laugh for the next 40 minutes to an hour, however long it is, you just made their day.
Oh, you don't. It really is. First of all, it's an insane craft. I agree.
Yes,
it really is. I mean, so there's 2 points I wanted to make after listening to you there. So it's insane in the sense of what you just said. You're walking into a room, assuming you're headlining, you're doing 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're gonna, meaning me at the moment, or you as the comic, you're gonna decide what you talk about.
Right.
And there's 300 to 1,000 people out there listening to what I decide I'm going to talk about.
Exactly.
So they walk into a room and I'm going to talk about, how isolating COVID was, which is kind of relatable. But then I might talk about going through a divorce, or I might talk about, whatever. The point, you know what I mean? Maybe I'm talking about, my kids making a mess at home, or I'm talking about feeling like I'm getting older as a woman. And there's a man in the front row and he didn't buy a ticket to the woman who's getting older show because he doesn't relate to that. But somehow you're going to bring all these people together, which might be gay, straight, married, single, divorced, young, old, rich, poor, all these people, different races, different mindsets and morals and values. And we're going to talk about what it's insane that you can get away with that. And the other thing is it's a one-sided conversation. So it's just like, it's really is a miracle of an art form, but that's what makes it so amazing.
Yeah.
And when you're good at it, it's a very electric feeling. Like, I mean, to get off stage and go, wow, like, I just drove that boat and people had a good time. And then the second part, I'm sorry, kind of on a roll about this, is I just had this amazing experience this last week when I was on the cruise ship. Is a guy came up to me, him and his wife, and he's like, I just had open heart surgery. And laughing at your show just now, it just made me feel so good. And appreciating how lighthearted, just lighthearted laughter and just being alive, how good it feels to be alive. And I mean, he's holding his chest as he's talking to me. And I'm like, oh my God, like, you didn't crack any stitches or anything, right? I'm like thinking that, but
yeah,
I mean, how touching. And I had another woman I met on the ship, and I, was processing and joking about the end of my marriage, and she broke into tears and she said, I went through it and this is, and I'm moving forward and, I feel good, but she's, just listening to you just helped me laugh at it versus cry about it.
Yeah.
So it's really, really wonderful.
So, and that's what comedy does. I mean, it's in the Bible, in Proverbs, it says laughter is like a medicine. Like God spends half his time laughing at us. We're pretty funny.
Yeah.
So it's he wants us to laugh, and
he's probably like, oh my God, why did Frances just do that joke? She should have done better.
The thing about it is we're gifted to do that, to help people that are going through things, and we can't, because like I said, we can't even explain why we do it. It's just like we just love to do it. It's exciting, it's exhilarating, and you're breaking chains that people came in there with, even if it's just for that amount of time that you were on stage. And so there's so many things, Frances, I could talk about. I love talking comedy. We're going to have to wrap it up, but this has been a great conversation. Believe you me, I've enjoyed every moment of it. And I've got tons more that I could discuss easily, but we do have to cut out. I would love for you to tell fans out there how they can follow you on social media or by website.
Yeah, I would love that. And, so of course the easiest way is, gosh, nobody ever knows how to spell. Maybe you can add my last name. It's francesdilorinzo.com, or go to Funny Frances Comedian on Instagram. So if you Google Funny Frances, you did it. Perfect. francesdilorinzo.com. That was the best way if anybody's following here. And then click on my Instagram. I would love for you guys to do Instagram. I'm very active on there, posting stuff, unscripted, day in the life, as well as stand up, and YouTube as well. So I'm on all the sites, really: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. But the easiest way to find whichever one you prefer is to go to my website and then click on there. Otherwise, just Funny Frances Comedian on Instagram, Frances Dilorinzo, anywhere. Frances Dilorinzo anywhere is where you find me.
I love it. I love it. And check out her Dry Bar Comedy special, folks. Go to YouTube and just type in Dry Bar Comedy, Frances Dilorinzo, and the name of the special is The Problem Solver. Yeah. Very, very funny stuff. If you've enjoyed our conversation, well, like it and share it, by gosh. And subscribe to the Maurice Brown Comedy channel. And also you can listen to this show on Spotify and where all major podcasts are heard, the Maurice Brown Comedy Show. And also you can go to KCHFTV.org every Sunday night at 9:00 Mountain Time. You can see the Maurice Brown Comedy Show there as well. Also, I did a short film that was nominated for the most inspirational category. Recently, I did this film with my wife. That's my beautiful wife right there. It's called The Unknown Kingdom, and May 3rd, I'll find out if I won the award in that category. So we'll see what happens there. Pretty exciting stuff. I'm loving it, and I got another film coming out. Well, I'm going to start shooting in May called Chance. And if I can get this one, the nominated film, in with some investors on board, I'll stretch that one out into an episodic or do a full feature length film. So just going into a different realm here, sticking with stand up, but I'm getting into writing and directing. So, and once it's all said and done, I'll let you know where you can find that short film, what platform it may be on. But in the meantime, you guys take care of yourself out there. Be blessed. We've been talking with the very funny and talented Francis Dilorinzo on the Maurice Brown Comedy Show. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Have a blessed day, and may the peace of Christ be with you and your families, everybody. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.